there friends, it's Carrie with Any Day Blessings, and I'm making today's video with 3 different people in mind. First, all the people who bought during the Masterbooks one day only sale I know are probably sitting there looking at a huge stack of books and wondering, what in the world do I do? Where do I begin? And I know there's another group of you out there who are contemplating bringing your children out of public school, be it virtual or in-person school or parochial school, and just finishing out this crazy pandemic year in the traditional homeschool model where you as the parent pick the curriculum and you're wondering where to begin. But the third group of people that I'm thinking of is just moms like me who are always researching, always trying to figure out new ways and tips for how homeschool can go a little easier, and maybe you're looking at a curriculum switch. Maybe you've been homeschooling a while, but you're looking for something that's a little different, a little easier to implement, something that's written directly to a homeschool family, and perhaps you're wondering how you could get started with a curriculum like that. So with all 3 of those groups in mind, let's dive in and hear my 5 tips for getting started with Masterbooks curriculum. So right off the bat, let me just share with you 2 reasons why I've made this a curriculum-specific video. Why didn't I just call this Getting Started with Homeschool or something like that? Why did I specifically name Masterbooks curriculum, and why am I going over that specific company and getting started with them? There's 2 reasons. Number 1, on this channel, I do share quite a bit of Masterbooks content because we use quite a bit in our homeschool, and you all really enjoy it. I hear the most feedback about my Masterbooks videos or my huge curriculum comparisons and walkthroughs. You seem to like those kinds of things. And so I know that a lot of you that follow me here follow me for my Masterbooks content, and so I decided that this would be something that a lot of you would enjoy and could be helpful to you all. And I know that a lot of you purchased off of that one-day sale because you were telling me so in the comments and we were talking about it leading up to it. So I know that a lot of you are looking at that big stack of books and wondering, what do I do with all of this? But the second reason that I've made this curriculum specific and how to get started with a certain company is because I think that a lot of people that are in that switch over mode, whether it be switching from one curricula to another or switching from being enrolled in a public school or parochial school and now coming to traditional homeschool, I think that something like Masterbooks is the most beginner-friendly option out there for a Christian homeschool family. For a family that's looking to homeschool from a biblical worldview, I think this is the most beginner-friendly company to start with. I highly, highly recommend it for people that are just getting started to get that confidence and get the flow and get the feel of what homeschool is like without lots of pieces, parts, and manuals and things that tend to bog us down. I just really feel that for those of you that are coming over to this video for a curriculum switch or semester break change, something like that, Masterbooks is a great place for you to look for that easy transition. Now let's get to those tips. Let's give you the good stuff to help you get started with Masterbooks on the right foot. The very first thing that I will suggest to you is don't skip the front matter. Read the front content of your book. Don't just go right to lesson 1 or go right to the schedule. Every Masterbooks course has this lovely schedule that just tells you what to do each day. Don't go right there. You need to read what I call the front matter of each book, and it starts with a page like this called Using This Course, and then after that it has a bunch of information, teaching tips, reason behind why they did things the way that they did. This is especially important in courses like Math Lessons for a Living Education, Language Lessons for a Living Education, My Story, the Beginner's Science courses, things that don't have a separate teacher guide. The teacher guide for courses like the God's Design for Life original version, in the front of those teacher's guide, they have a lot of this information. But if you're using what I call the work text style books, where it's kind of like everything is rolled into one, there's just one book for the course, that front matter is your lifeline as a teacher. So many of the questions that pop up about how to teach this or how to get more practice with that or how to explain this in a different way, so many of those questions are covered in that front material. So that would be my number one tip to you. And then kind of part B of that tip would then also be to go back to the back of the book, because there's an appendix with teaching aids and visuals and charts and things that you can use in the back. In the math book, it's a manipulatives section. In the language lessons for living education, there are spelling games and lists and teaching guides, teaching aids, things that you can use for study helps. All of that is back there. Before you go to a lesson in a book, my number one tip for getting started with master books is to read the front and the back, or the appendix of the book, to see what resources you have as a teacher before you even begin the course. Tip number 2 that I would give you on getting started with master books is, once you have gone over that front matter and the back matter, and now you know kind of what the intention is for the course, what the flow of the course is going to look like, start to scan through the book and just look at the lessons. I even sometimes do a mock lesson, in my head, or maybe even just kind of quietly out loud, at the kitchen counter when the kids are playing somewhere else. I'll go through and actually see how long it takes me to teach one of the lessons. I'll see how long it takes me to gather up the materials, and so I kind of get an idea for what the preparation is going to be like for the course, how long a lesson is going to take, what I need to gather for assignments. I go through and I just scan. I look for projects. I look for things that maybe might take my kids a little longer. I look for things that might lend themselves to a field trip. I just scan. But I highly recommend this so that you can do the next couple steps with success. If you don't know how long a lesson is going to take you, if you don't know the type of preparation that's going to be required from you, then you can't appropriately schedule out and plan in the future steps I'm about to share. Okay, we're up to tip number 3, and that's all about scheduling. Now, I'll say right off the bat, master books, one of the things that so many mamas love about master books is the schedule that they provide right here in the front of their manual, and you can just go down and do what they have lined out here for you. If you're planning to do school, the number of days that they have scheduled out, you don't have to do anything else. So many mamas love that about master books. I have yet to really use their schedules because we just school in a different way. We don't school 5 days a week using our core subjects. Our 5th day is kind of extras like typing and geography and some computer games and things like that. We call it our Fun Friday. So I have to find a way to schedule in these lessons in a 4-day school week. Now, some courses like science, for example, sometimes is done on a 4-week schedule or 4-day per week schedule, but a lot of the courses are done in 5 days. And so in this 3rd step, I encourage you to look at the schedule that Masterbooks provides and see if it fits the schedule that you're hoping to implement in your homeschool. If you're only looking to schedule 4 days a week and you have a 5-day week schedule, you kind of have to do a little mental rearranging and decide, okay, am I just not going to get all the lessons done? Are we just going to go up to the point in the book where we get to and then just pick up next year? That's completely fine. Are we going to skip certain things as we go? Are we going to do test days? Are we going to, complete the tests and quizzes that they have scheduled? Because those are a lesson, or those are counted as a day in the curricula. So are you going to do that? Is that something you could cut out? And that's a step that I think you shouldn't skip, because if you want to finish the book, or if you want to get to certain things, like, you're looking at this and you say, oh, I can't wait till we get to planet Earth. And that's actually the 3rd and last section of here. And you just motor on along doing 1 lesson per day, and you're in your schedule, but it doesn't match up with what this schedule is, and you're just doing one lesson a day, you may not get to the place where you want to get to. So I suggest, as you're getting started with Master Books, you look at their schedule that they have provided. If you're using a course like Math Lessons for a Living Education or Language Lessons or My Story, those kinds of courses where there's just a student text and workbook, in one, that schedule's in the front of the book. If you're using the science courses, God's Design for Life, or some of the geography courses, elementary geography, elementary history, the America's Story or World Story courses, those come with separate teacher guides. The schedule is in that teacher guide. Look over that. That's tip number 3. Look over that. Know right off the get-go if that schedule is going to work for you. If you're not planning to test, if you're not planning to do 5-day a week, if you're, anyway, not planning to use their schedule as written, kind of know ahead of time how you're going to alter that. Now, I've done lots of videos on how I plan my school year. I'm not going to go into depth here, but just in a real brief way, I'll let you know that what I do is I cut out things right from the get-go that I know I don't want to make a priority. These would be gravy or the cherry on top if we got to these things. In the science course, that is the special features. I'll see if I can find one here. I probably should have had one marked to show you, but here's a special feature. These are just little excerpts at the end of a lesson, where maybe you talked about, this one here is Discovery of Air, Joseph Priestley, and the lesson before that was all about the weight of air. So it's kind of like a little bit of a digging deeper exercise that comes in the science courses. And I knew that I needed to cut out some days in order to fit this content in the way that we schedule, so I cut those out. I also cut out some of the quiz days. Like, we do a quiz and then a lesson, and then we'll start the next lesson. So I don't leave just one day for a quiz. I actually combine that with a lesson. So, mean mom, I guess. I don't know. we don't get like a freebie day on a quiz day. We still do a lesson. So that's how I'm able to get the course in a shorter school week. And so those are some of the decisions I have to make in this getting starting period. When I'm looking at how to schedule this, I have to figure out exactly how many lessons am I hoping to complete. And that's a key word, mamas, hoping. The plans that you're making at this getting started period often will need adjusted around Christmas time and probably again around Easter time, and that's okay. But just in this getting started period, look through, see what things you might not have as a high priority that you could cut out to fit the schedule that you want. If the schedule looks perfect to you and it looks like this is something you could implement and it fits in your homeschool, then Master Books has done the work for you and no changes are needed. Okay, tip number 4 on getting started with Master Books kind of goes back to step 2 last. Step 2 is pretty important because a lot of these other tips go off of it. But this one kind of goes back to step 2 a little bit because this tip is all about planning. My 4th tip to you is know how you're going to continue to plan and prepare and gather supplies and grade papers, all of that kind of administrative stuff. Know how you're going to maintain that throughout the year. Are you going to pull everything out on Sunday evening and go over and see what supplies you need? Are you going to plan 2 weeks ahead and look at the supply lists that way? Are you going to just go out and buy everything off of the supply list that Master Books has provided at the beginning of the year and just store it in a tub? What is going to be your kind of method for planning? I do not buy everything at the beginning of the year for several reasons. Number 1, that supply list lists out everything you need for the whole year, but it doesn't tell you when you need it or how much you need. And so if you need something 5 months from now, like, what was it? I'm trying to think. It was something that was kind of bigger that I needed. It was like a big board of some kind, like a big foam board. And I didn't need it until the end of the year. And I had this big board I was trying to store in a closet for the whole school year. sometimes those supply lists can be a little tricky to navigate because you don't know when you need it, you don't know how much you need, it just tells you the item. So that's why I like the supply list. I think it's in one of the beginners courses because it actually gives it by week. Some of the other courses, I'm thinking this one here, this one, the math course, it just gives you a big supply list and it doesn't say, when you need it. It just says this is the supply list, and it doesn't tell you how much or when you need it. So you could gather all those things, but you'd be sitting on some of them for a while. So I suggest that you have some sort of regular, either weekly or bi-weekly or even monthly plan in place when you're getting started so that you kind of have a routine set up. I'm going to look at my books every Sunday night, see what I need, gather those supplies, and be ready to go for the week. I'm going to look at it every month, whatever it is. And then that way you're kind of keeping a fresh look on the book. You're kind of always taking a pulse of where you are and where you need to be, that sort of thing. I personally recommend every couple weeks. I think planning every week may grow a little weary and you might get burnt out. So I suggest every 2 to 3 weeks. I plan usually 3 weeks at a time as far as pulling out supplies, getting things set. And I do 3 weeks at a time. And so in this early getting started with master books period or homeschool in general, decide what is going to work for you. What can you maintain? A monthly planning, a monthly supply gathering, weekly. Figure out what it is so that you have that routine in place. It'll make things run a lot smoother once you get started. And my fifth and final tip for you all is to just start the homeschool year or start this new semester change or new curriculum change, whatever it is. Start with just math and language arts. Just those two things. Take a week or two to get familiar with the new flow of things. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to start with everything you bought from Master Books at once. Just start teaching one math lesson, one language arts lesson per day for the first week or so. And then gradually, 1 or 2 at a time, add those other courses in until you're up to full speed. And you will see that it's easier to start off slow and build than if you start full on with everything and have to pull back. That's a little trickier to do. I've been there. And then once you're up to full speed, once you're up to doing, a lesson out of all courses every day or whatever you have scheduled to do, once you're up to the schedule that you hope to maintain, then you can start to add in things like field trips or extra things like computer games or videos or extra books, extra projects that go along with what you're doing. Don't start off right away with all that extra stuff. Just start off with the math and language arts, add as I suggested, and then that other stuff kind of comes after your confidence as a homeschool mama is kind of nurtured a little bit. If you're brand new, if you're switching curricula, or if you're doing some sort of a semester change of some kind, you're going to feel a little uneasy, a little unsure of yourself. We all are there. I know that at some level you're going to probably feel that. So allow yourself to get past that before you kind of hit the full schedule. It will not only be good for you and your stress level, but it will be good for your children. They learn so much better from a mama who's not stressed out and overwhelmed. And so if you all can just take this gradual start, it will be good for everyone. So I hope you found these tips helpful. I hope you all have a very successful start to your homeschool journey with Master Books, or a continuation of it if you are coming here having already used it, but maybe just looking for some other tips to how to make things go a little more smoothly for you. I'm by no means the expert, so I want to hear from you down in the comments. What would be your best tips for getting started with Masterbooks? If you've used it before, or maybe you're going through that process now and you found something particularly helpful, please let other mamas know that down in the comments, and I will catch you in the next video.